Welcome to the Redvee TV show, supported by Chapel House Cars for the 2025 season. This is take number 6.
I was going to mention it, but yeah, go with it.
And on this week's show, we discuss Saints' injury crisis and we build up to Saints' 10 title celebration against Warrington on Friday evening. Because as we all know, Warrington think rugby league started in 1996, and we're going to make them feel better by agreeing with them because that means that it's not been 70 years without winning anything. It's only been, what, 29, 30 years? Makes it sound better for them. We're being charitable.
I did wonder how you would start this. Well, that's what I was going to say if this wasn't take six.
Well then, Kevin, injuries bite.
Yeah,
We'll get
um,
into the show.
not an ideal, not an ideal start to the week, uh, has it been? Yeah,
Is this because it's unlucky show 13?
well, 13 is my lucky number, so I'm not having that. I'm not having that. 13 is my lucky number, so um, yeah.
There he is. I wonder if that is the offending hand on Sailor's back.
Are we going into that much scrutiny of was it that hand, was it the other hand?
The fans don't know it yet, but that steward is looking concerned. Obviously, he did it against Hull KR, not Wakefield, where that picture was taken. But we started off the start of the week worried about Mark Percival's ankle after hobbling off in the win over Leeds last Friday night. And then we had Joe Batchelor's HIA. And you think, who on earth is going to play centre, given that Conrad Harrell is injured his hamstring against, playing for the Halifax Panthers. And we're in a bit of a mess there. And then you get the little bit of the good news is, Kevin, Mark Percival might not be that bad and may well play on Friday evening. But by the way, the bad news is Kyle Felt is now out for 12 weeks. Wonderful.
Yeah, not the best news, as I say, and I hope that we're sensible with Percy as well, with regards to his injury. I think if we start with the centres, especially, it just comes back to our discussions that we've had about the strength in depth there, and having someone who you think they are the obvious choice to come in because yeah, we could have players, and I think we mentioned this possibly last week, where you say you can try and fit a number of players around 10 games. It'll probably be more because players miss games, but you're trying to fit players in and you're okay for a game or two. Now, I don't, you know me in stats, but I just had a look at how many games Connie and Percy have played over the past 2 years. Percy, 70% of games he's played in. Connie, 57% of games. A little bit of me thinks if we are going into a season with one of those that's usually in the 90s or at least late 80s, then yeah, you probably do need a centre. But with them both being 70% and 57, you think has the due diligence really been done? And I don't want to have a go at the lads who are next in line, but they're your two were in 3 and 4 this season. And it just again puts under scrutiny that decision to give Connie a new deal, considering he's gone out and not just done 1 or 2 games trying to get fitness at Halifax. Appeared 4 times. I think that was his 4th game that he did his hamstring in. You just think if you're taking that long to get over an injury, is it a good use in a salary cap sport of a quarter spot?
Listen, quite frankly, it was a bad piece of business. He
Yeah.
should never have been given that extra year. There was obviously he had the neck injury, which, listen, it's unfortunate, but he wasn't setting the world alight last season when he was fit, and he was coming towards the end then. So to give him a 12-month extension when we knew we were crying out for it to sign a centre, and that was the best we could do, it it was a bad decision. And that's compounded even further by the fact that you've given him that extra 12 months, and then you're not even having him in the team to start the season, and he's a quota player, and you're farming him out on dual reg. Now, we know he's a player from watching him that needs a run of games to get his fitness. If he can't get fit over pre-season and playing against um, West Hull and in the friendly against Salford, and he needs to be farmed out on loan, is he good enough to be in the squad with his level of fitness?
Yeah, I get that it was a proper tough injury to come back from. It was like nearly a career ender. I get that, and I get that they've got to get him back up to speed. But you think when Percy, and I might be comparing apples with oranges here, where Percy, when he goes out, when he's out injured, he comes back in and he runs in like a prop forward still. Absolutely no regard for his own safety. He comes in and he's immediately at that intensity.
What was Kev? We saw that from Percy last season. He can be
Yeah, yeah,
Percy can miss
exactly.
15, 16 weeks and get dropped in a semi-final, and it's like he's never been missed.
Yeah, you're not that bothered about what performance you're going to get out of him. Yeah, it looks because you see the like people chatting on social media, people in our WhatsApp groups and whatever, talking about who's going to play centre. And there's a myriad of different options and choices that are going out there. There's obviously some vitriol against some choices. You think that possibly, and I know one of them's been named in the squad, but the two lads who it's not been confirmed yet by Saints or Wigan, but have signed over there, or allegedly signed over there, have probably moved themselves down the pecking order somewhat. Um, Possibly, I wouldn't like to comment on how Saints pick the team. I'm sure it's all on performance in the reserves and dual reg and the likes. Um, but you just feel like we had the opportunity to possibly go out and get a centre, didn't we?
And
And we've not done it.
it'd be easy to say, oh, well, hindsight is a wonderful thing. But I think the good thing about our channel is you can go back and watch all our previous videos where we've done these discussions and see what we said at the time. And I think the conversation at the time was, should we have been given Harrell a deal? And I think the answer was we wouldn't have done so. It was a year too
Yeah,
much, and unfortunately, it's one of those occasions where we're not always right, but it's looking that way. Now, the other part, which you've alluded to there, is who should play centre. Now, quite frankly, it should be Ben Davies. Despite the fan vitriol and the absolute shambolic abuse that the lad gets just for being Ben Davies, it's quite frankly ridiculous. But if he is in your squad as your fourth or fifth centre option, we are at that point. Now, I said again, if you go back on the videos, I didn't see the point in offering Ben Davies a new deal and saying, "Oh, you're giving him a deal as a utility player, unless you're actually going to use him when you need to use him." And I felt last season you kept him in the squad as a utility player, but you didn't use him when the time came. Which so I was saying it's madness. If you're giving him a deal, you've got to play him. And if it means Harry Robertson playing on the outside of him this week, Ben Davies will be solid enough at centre for you. He won't be spectacular, but he'll do a job for you. And that is why, for me, Ben Davies comes into the team this week.
I think one of the things, and I've not had time to look at it, we're assuming we've got to assume that Percy's fit. I think that's where I'm going to go with this. That Percy is fit enough to play. Been named in the 21. I'm just going to go with that. Um, I think with it, when you're losing centres at a rate of knots or have players who are injured, or you've got your front line, your first choice wingers out as well. So you've got to have a reshuffle. You wonder kind of how many teams could cope if Percy drops out as well, could cope with having the numbers 2, 3, 4, and I'll call him number 5, even though John Bennison was the shirt. He got the nod at the start of the season. How many teams could cope with that? Because I'm going to say not a lot, and I'm not necessarily convinced that we can properly. I'm not saying it from a we'll be absolutely fine. We'll be, you know what, we've got 2 young Jamie Lyons playing centre, and we've got 2 young Anthony Sullivans on the wing. That's not the case. You've got to have a reshuffle. With regards to Ben, yeah, the abuse he gets is sickening. I think that if people actually think about the makeup of a squad, it's not fantasy rugby. I think I say that every other week.
Do you say that when
You've got
people
to
are jumping on that we've signed Nenny McDonald because some dodgy post on Redvee gets circulated around social media and then everyone's on it? We signed Nenny McDonald. Well, we haven't.
Yeah,
As it
exactly.
stands, no, we haven't. And
Yeah,
it's not fancy rugby league, and we've got no quota and we've got no salary cap. Oh, let's just send Moses and Bay to Salford. Why would Moses and Bay go to Salford when they can't even
yeah,
play? Well, we all say what's going on at Salford, but why would you agree to move to Salford at this moment in time when you've got a club house and a club car? Not
yeah.
going to
You
happen.
wouldn't be looking, would you?
Why would you let Moses and Bay go when if Darrell Clark got injured tomorrow and you've let Moses go, you would be relying on Jake Burns to play 80 minutes every single week.
Yeah,
People don't think logically about what they're saying. James Bell
and
going to Hull on loan, is he? Wait, Hull haven't got a quota spot. Rubbish.
yeah. Speaking of Moses, though, on Monday, um, on my lunch break, I had a look at Moses's stats of where he's played throughout his career. Again, me stats. Don't know what's wrong with me this week. He's played centre 32 times in his career. Started at centre. One of them was State of Origin 2019. Just saying, it's an option, isn't it?
It is.
It's an option. 47 times at fullback, 32 at centre, 30 at 6, 58 at 7, 24 at hooker, 1 at loose forward, and 47 off the interchange bench.
What an absolute bore you are.
You can thank the Rugby League project for
Okay.
that.
I would still
It was
rather
an
see
absolutely
I
great
would still
website.
rather see Ben Davis at centre this Friday ahead of Moses and Bay, who's played their state of origin. But listen, I said I played Ben Davis this Friday, and I'm saying that based on Kyle Felt being out injured. Even if
Yeah.
Percy plays,
Well,
Kyle Felt,
there's another decision then, isn't there?
yeah.
If Percy isn't fit, you've got another decision. Yeah.
The other options you've got at centre is obviously Deon Sambu to come in. Do Saints swallow pride? And if we weren't planning on playing him this year, he's part of the squad. He's played in the reserves and did well against Wigan at the weekend. Do you bring him in? The only problem there, I fear, is his first mistake, which any young player will make, will see him absolutely crucified.
Yeah. My opinion, no. I I wouldn't play him. I think you've still got to give the lads the chance to play or the opportunity if they deserve it. And apparently he's been doing well in the reserves. We all know that it's a couple of steps down. It's not Super League. But do you want to put first team minutes into someone who is leaving at the end of the season, especially to that lot over the hill? I think the more protective side of me, almost like the dad side of me, is saying exactly what you said there. One mistake from him, and well, he may well overtake Ben Davis for getting pelters, and because of a contract decision which he thought was a good idea, good deal for him. He's a human being at the end of the day, and I don't want to see that happen to him. I wouldn't. I think naming him in the squad is fine, but I also think if Owen Dagnall was fit, we wouldn't be having this conversation about Deon Sambu.
Oh, absolutely not. Right. next part of this conversation, then we've talked about one bad renewal, contract renewal decision. The next one, T. Ritson. If T. Ritson still, and I know he's been out on loan at Barrow, and I think is that being extended, Kevin?
Yeah, it
Um,
has. Yeah.
we said at the time I didn't think T. Ritson would play again in a Saints jersey. I am now 100% nailed on that T. Ritson will never play again in a Saints jersey. I think Johnny Vaughan and Deion Sandberg have got more chance of playing this year than T. Ritson. Um, what on earth were we thinking in giving him a new deal if there is no intention, even with Lewis Murphy, Kyle Felt, Owen Dagnall out injured? If he's fourth, well, is he fourth choice?
Well,
Fifth?
no, if you're
Must
going
be
to move
fifth.
Harry Robertson, yeah. If you
He's got
move,
to be
well,
fifth
no,
choice behind John Bennett. So what on earth were we giving him a deal for?
if you're moving Harry Robertson over to the wing, then he goes behind him. If you're naming Dale Sambu in the squad, he goes behind him.
Is he number seven in the pecking order?
Um, he's properly fallen down that pecking order again. There's obviously the question there. We will see the shame we've not got the graph, the unpicked player paradox, which is the longer they're not picked, the better they get. We will see that. People keep saying T. Ritson hasn't been given a chance. Yes, he has.
3 tries in 16 games.
He has. He has been given a chance. His centre doesn't pass to him. No, but the game straight after T. Ritson came out the team last season, John Bennison scored a hat trick. But nobody passes to the wingers. Jimmy Snowman is such a. I have heard something like this year. I've been trying to watch Percy, and the number of passes he will give out to his winger were then. It's been John Bennison now for the past couple of games. He's had to come inside just because of where he is in field and he doesn't want to get dragged into touch. It's an absolutely fair enough move. But the ball does go out. It's just, it's not eye catching. It's not like the 80s where you can sling the ball out and people do because you know what? It's, it was more about the entertainment rather than the results back then, I'd say almost. It was more of a show, I think, rather than a proper business. I might be
You don't
speaking
see
out
many
to.
wingers these days, Kev, get the ball 20, 30 metres out and go round the outside to score, do you, generally?
No, I mean that young lad from Hull did well against Bevan French in the Challenge Cup. The young kid who got a hat trick left him for dead. But yeah, you're right. It probably doesn't happen. And are we saying that because we've not seen someone with pace in
Yeah.
our team out on the wing? Arguably so. But yeah, again, when you get down to the nuts and bolts of contracts, you could definitely reasons about a good couple of our squad and why they've been given it. And I suspect that a lot of it is having players that are available who fit under a salary cap because you don't really hear about people like Ben Davis being injured. Kieran getting injured this week, but you don't really hear about it. You don't really hear about John Bennison getting injured. And I know they're not going through the rigmarole of games every single week, but you need your squad players to be available. So when your first teamers are out because they've been injured or suspended, they can just come in. And yeah, no one's talking about these lads being Saints legends. It's not. That's not going to happen. But you need a squad. You still need a squad. I just think that sometimes, especially the loud ones on social media, think that your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth choice centres should all be as good as Jamie Lyon or Willie Talau or Matt Gidley, and then your wingers should be as good as an Alan Hunt, but kicking the heels, fourth choice. It doesn't work like that. Really doesn't work like that.
You're in a delicate position with the salary cap. If players are good enough to be first and second choice at Saints, even if they're third or fourth in pecking order, chances are they're good enough to be getting offered a contract elsewhere to be their starters.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
so yes. Anyway,
When you're up there at the top, exactly right.
the moral of the story is, Kev, we're in a bit of a mess in the backs, and we're going to have to patchwork it together. And it couldn't really come at a worse time, could it?
No, no, not playing Warrington, who seemingly have got a raft of players back as well this week. The one thing
A
I
raft of
will say with
losers.
the one thing I will say with injuries is it is up to the coaching team to get a tune out of the players on the park. It was one of my bugbears last year that we weren't even getting a tune. It wasn't even one that you can hum along to, you kind of know. It was just a mess. It was like someone had pushed a piano down the stairs. That's what tune we'd got out of it. Anyway, 3 changes to that squad. Kyle Feldt, Joe Batchelor, Jake Burns dropouts, Ben Davis, George Whitby, and Dale Sambu coming.
Maybe then Moses and Bite comes back into that 17 this week with Jake Burns dropping out.
Um, I'm I've not seen the press to this week, but I'm sure that Wello said that he would come back in. But I picked a team, and I'm thinking, were you coming
So
in?
Moses and Bite comes in at centre.
Yeah.
You can have Ben. You could have Ben Davis on the bench as your utility option, and when Darrell Clark needs to be spelled, you can move Ben. You can move Moses into 9 for 10 minutes and put Ben Davis at centre.
So you're dropping off the bench. I'll tell you my team. I'll tell you my team first.
I
Then.
don't know. I've not thought that
So
deeply into it.
this is based on Percy being fit. So I've gone Wellesby, Robertson, Davis, Percival. This is what I think Wello will do, by the way. Wellesby, Robertson, Davis, Percival, Bennison, Sailor, Lomax, Walmsley, Clark, Lees, Siren and Whitley, Knowles, and then we bench Parsley, Delaney, Bell, Wingfield.
Okay, my 4 to miss out: Whitby, Sambu, Noah, and James Bell.
Yeah. Do you think so?
I'm making it up as I go along, but a
Yeah, fair enough.
bit like Saints
You see,
transfer rumours.
there's there's another issue that you could potentially put um, Matt Whitley into the centres
Yeah, when they had
as
10 minutes on
finished the game,
Friday, didn't he?
and then you probably put in James Bell or Jake Wingfield into the second row,
I just don't think James Bell's going
and
to come
that's
straight in.
no, that's fair enough. That's fair. I've got him on the bench.
Listen, there is still options. There's still enough in that squad to get the job done
Yeah,
on Friday night.
there
Hopefully.
is, and that's one thing I'm going to try and not hide behind the fact that we might be missing players. We need to get a tune out of that. Sorry, I've just noticed Darrell Clark looks a bit like Fred Siriax, you know, the fella off First Aids, the maitre d'. He's just got a look of him in that picture there. Anyway, yeah,
Kev, do you watch?
we've got to get a tune
You
out of him.
watch? Sorry, you watch First Dates. Thanks for that.
The the missus does, yeah.
Of course,
Usually get down
you're just in
after
the room,
you've
aren't you?
spent about after you've just spent half an hour before we've even started filming. I get down and she's watching Married at First Sight or Corrie or something like that. Grim.
Listen,
Um,
our problem, Kev, isn't the squad we've got in terms of, well, people say it's about our attack. Here's a question for you. Last season, it was Lauren Fresnu's fault. The attack was bad. The French fella, as people like to call him. And now this year, it's not Lee Breer's fault. It's Paul Wellens because he's not allowing Lee Breers to do his job properly. Fans love a narrative. Which one is it?
yeah, I will say that some of the first one was very rampant xenophobia, and I will probably say that we've had 5 games really to get into the swing of things. It's all very well saying you've had pre-season. Pre-season's fine, but you're running against your own lads and tackle bags. Yeah, brilliant. We could put a set play on if we've got no one tackling us, rather than Hull KR dominating us in the forwards and not being able to get out of our own half for the first 20 minutes. it's easy to say that. It's easy to say it. We need to see more from the attack, but I'd still say it's a work in progress. It's just the instant gratification that's needed from fans like us. We want to see us playing well straight away. It's going to take time, and we've got to get rid of them bad habits of going to one-man rugby when we don't need to. We had a purple
There
patch
lies the
against
biggest
Leeds,
issue for
and
me, Kev. It's not necessarily the attack once we're in the opposition's half. It's getting there in the first place. We've, if our
yeah, and
biggest issue this
I
season has
think
been struggling to get off our own line,
I think that's what we need to do against Warrington early doors. We need to beat the pack. Now I know people are saying that the pack's a bit of a lighter one this year, maybe a little bit of a worry for them. Well, I'm saying that Fabrizio Romano said that on his own little predictions one, Matt Shaw. But it, if our pack don't turn up, we could get we could end up in a big slug, and it ends up where your mistakes down in your own 20, your own 30 count, kicking the ball out on the full. We need to put a platform down, and that's how we will win this game, by decimating the pack early on. If we don't do that, then we could end up struggling again.
and I know we talked last Friday, or me and Peter did, that Tristan Saylor had his best spell in the second half after he scored his try and he looked lively for that 10 minutes. But that's because our pack got on top for that little period in time and give him something to play behind. Um, it's a, it's amazing our fan base. So like we all go into the season and the narrative was basically Paul Wellens needs to win 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 early in the year to keep his job. Well, he's currently on course for that. The one game we've lost, if you'd have asked fans to give their table, their Super League table, where your honest opinion is, looking at the squads, where we will finish in 2025, you'd have had most people would have had Wigan at the top, Hull KR with them, and then optimistic people would be saying us as third. So at the moment, the only game we've lost is the team that most of us felt would probably end up finishing above us this season. So are we that
Yeah.
far behind where we need to be if we want to be positive here? The defence isn't terrible. It'll keep us in enough games. We just need to get it clicking and attack a little bit. And as Wigan have shown, they're not infallible either.
Yeah, we
Um,
do. We need to. I think Saints fans are just looking for us to play well consistently, and by that I don't necessarily mean getting results, but putting a couple of plays on, looking like there's a spark of something there. And I think a lot of that is going back to what you said about Sailor is absolutely right. You've got a pack that's dominating, and you're able to play your rugby in the other half of the field, give him some space, give him something to work with, then fantastic. So that's where it all starts. That we've got to get that pack on top early doors. Give ourselves a good chance of scoring tries and not just revert to one up rugby.
this isn't, uh, by the way, any sort of happy clapping because at times we've been dreadful. Absolute
Yeah,
crap at times in some games, in
yeah.
parts. I'm not sugarcoating it. We've been bad, but I sometimes look at it, is this just where we're up to as a squad? And that's why we need that turnover of players that is going to come over the next couple of years.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate. I think because we're so saturated with football in this country, I think when you see that it's a slower turnover rugby wise, you you fear being left behind. And there probably is a little bit of that. You're right, it's not happy clapping. I wish I hadn't have come back from Liverpool on Friday. I was having a lovely
You
day out.
didn't?
Came, came, came back from the. It's funny you say that. The father-in-law said, "What were you doing? Stood in the background." um, yeah, it was what a turgid game. I didn't enjoy it at all. It just wasn't worth the effort to come back to. Couple of tries, good burst of play, good little like spell for us. But you kind of want to see that a little bit more, especially no offense to Leeds, but I didn't think they were great at all on the night, and they were there for properly putting away, getting a couple more points, and really not having that last, don't know, however many minutes where you're thinking, right, it's only 8 points in it. There's a chance they get another try. We might get a bit twitchy here.
Well, win, lose, or draw on Friday night, Kevin. What I want to see is this squad connecting with the fans, showing their appreciation around both the south, the west, and the east stand, and the north. No, not the east. North, west, and south. A quick lap of the pitch as a team, applaud the fans, show their appreciation, build that bond, disappear over to the corner, and stay there. As I said on Friday, I believe it is the captain's job, Johnny Lomax, to ensure that that happens as a team. And do you know what? But as a team, as a squad, they should take the lead of the captain. Um, Johnny Lomax goes around the pitch every game, meets the fans, poses for photos, takes his time, as captains do. So he leads by example. The team should look at what he's doing rather than having to be told by him. But unfortunately, that is where we look like we're at the moment. And hopefully, that is something that the club can work on.
Yeah, it's a problem that I think that we've raised a couple of times. And we're not asking them to come round and have a chat with everybody. It's literally just it don't even have to go to the degree that Johnny does, because you see him disappearing into the crowds and
Again,
having his picture taken.
and that leads to people being entitled, fans being
Yeah,
entitled, and it doesn't. You're quite right. There's fan open days. There's many opportunities over the course of the year for fans to do that. But what they don't want to see is the waiting at the end. They stay behind after the hooter. They don't just get off straight away. You stood on the terrace. They don't want to see players congregating with the opposition for a catch up and a big chat in the middle of the field before walking in the opposite direction. Come over, 10 seconds, clap. If you've won, you might get a song about you. You wave and then you wander off. That's all you need to do. And that's the same in
yeah,
any sport. Um, it shouldn't be that hard. Unfortunately, we've got a culture that's gone away from that at the club at times.
yeah. We've said it before, and I hope we don't have to say it again.
Warrington squad. I don't want to talk about this Warrington squad because any team that listed squad in alphabetical order doesn't deserve it.
Okay,
Do you want to say anything about them?
do you want me to just give you the changes?
I'm not asked.
Okay, I will do,
Go
just
on then.
because some people like that. Matt Duffy, Matty Ashton, Toby King, Aaron Lindop, Lachlan Fitzgibbon, Mark Sneed come into the squad. Jordy Crowther, Ollie Leyland, Kay Taylor Wright, Jake Thewlis, Tom Whitehead, and Luke Thomas all drop out.
Why didn't we sign Mark Sneak, Kevin? Is that because he's 34 and there's a salary cap and we've got George Whitby coming through?
But yeah, imagine if we'd have ended up with two 34-year-old halfbacks cutting them out of the pitch. And people say, oh, but he'd have taken the place. He would not have taken the place of Johnny Lomax. He wouldn't. Johnny Lomax was under contract. You've got to pay him up. If you want to let a club legend go like that as well, then it looks absolutely terrible when you're trying to recruit anyone,
Yeah, you
anyone
can't just
else.
let you can't. I love it when we've got players. Oh, I'd let somebody go at the end of the year. Brilliant. Where? Not going to happen. And don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. There is a conversation of should a keep player in such a key position, such as the halfback position, where you've only got like one of them, be your captain because that does that make it really harder to change things around, or should you have a club captain overall and just name a captain on the field each week? Like, for example, Seamus Coleman's Everton's club captain, but it doesn't mean he has to play every week at his age.
yeah, possibly, possibly. I think we've got enough leaders on the park anyway, and I'd hope that as the season goes on, if Johnny isn't needed in games, then that's when the likes of George Whitby get dipped into games and like be able to kind of get the feel of Super League again. He's only played once. I think my thing is don't get carried away with how good George Whitby can be, because people have got carried away with Danny Richardson. They've got carried away with Lewis Dodd. Let's not put all the pressure on these young lads.
No, I'm not doing that at all. But what the question I'll ask you, Kevin, is a loaded question. If at any time this season Johnny's performances don't deserve a place in the starting lineup or in the squad, will he be dropped or not with
No,
him being captain?
no, no.
Even if he doesn't deserve to be in the team with performance based.
I think people would probably argue that he's not really shown a lot this year. Certainly what I've seen on social media. I don't think so. I don't think so because of the. I don't think he would get dropped because of the experience he has. And I think it would be a big call to then put in George Whitby, unless you were dropping in for someone who was almost equally as experienced in Moses and By. But I don't think so. I genuinely don't. I think he's almost untouchable.
I would almost argue that whoever, if we're learning lessons for the future, I know we tend to make the captain of the team like the most experienced player generally. So it was Robes for years. Now it's Johnny Lomax. I don't want the next club captain to be the longest serving player. It needs to be
Well,
somebody early, but somebody who might be a leader, but is somebody you can say is 100% going to be in your team for the next 3 years.
in that case, then who's our current vice captains?
It'd be Jack Wellesby. Jack Wellesby, your captain, because you know he's not. There's not going to be a conversation about whether he should be in the team or not.
Yeah,
Right. We're covering topics here, Kevin.
yeah. It's what we tend to do: cover topics.
You can enjoy the 10 title celebration this Friday night. Details are on the club website. That is, well, I think that's an iPhone on the screen, but there are other phone brands available. You can download whatever the app is from the App Store or the Android Store, whatever that's called, for those weird sick
Play,
people who don't have an Apple
play,
iPhone.
Play Store.
Yeah, that weird thing, Android, you wrong uns, the Laurier. Um, and if you sync it up when the music starts, your phone will start flashing. Brilliant.
Is that a fan LED light, the phone light show, or fan LED phone light show?
It's a fan LED phone light show.
Not fan LED. No,
It's
we're
not
not
fan. It's
legal.
not fan led because the club are going to sort it with the app.
Right, okay.
Speaking about
Wondering.
music, Kev, no wonder Kyle Felt's got himself a hand injury. He's probably hit himself with a hammer, so he doesn't have to listen to Rhinestone Cowboy after he scores a try.
Yeah, good point.
Listen, I get it. I get like we, and I really like the idea of introducing like songs for certain players after they score. Rhinestone Cowboy,
And I get,
because he played for North Queensland.
yeah,
Brilliant.
that, yeah, yeah. Not the one based on his current chance or anything.
Why not just go with Sway?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a dance version of that. It's the song that the fans are singing his song to. You use the chorus of that, you turn it off, and the fans carry on singing his song. Because I'll be honest, even the grannies in the crowd, apologies to all the grannies, weren't even singing along to Rhinestone Cowboy after it finished. Nobody got onto it. It's like, really? Anyway,
Fair
moan, moan,
Radio One,
moan, moan, moan,
Radio
moan,
One
moan,
DJ Dave Lyon, though.
moan, 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 moan. There will be a club raffle on Friday evening with a chance to win a World Club Challenge jersey framed, signed by the squad, with all money going towards the ASW Solicitors 2026 Australia Academy Tour. So if you see the sellers around the ground, make sure you buy tickets. to be in with the chance of winning.
Yes. Nice prize that as well.
Hmm.
Or they
Anything
can't do
else?
that online. It's got to be in person, I think we've been told, haven't we,
Yes,
for
it'll
that
be.
one?
I think it's going to get drawn on the night as well.
Yeah.
Anything else keeping you up at night, Kevin?
No.
Apart from a hungry baby.
No. Even he doesn't keep me up at night. Although I was awake until about what was it, about 6 o'clock this morning when he woke up. So no, no, nothing.
All happy. Will you decide to grace us with your presence after the game on Friday evening?
I'll think about it.
Thank you very much. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you for the Friday night moan. Catch you soon.